So Persona's CEO has called me out for fear mongering. Despite the fact that I am a dumb person, I am actually going to respond to this right now and explain to Rick why he's wrong and why he actually just opened Pandora's box. So as I'm sure we're all aware, there is a huge global push of ID age verification going on right now, and a lot of social media companies are using a specific ID verification vendor called Persona. Now Persona, even though it's being used by all of these social media companies, has actually had a lot of controversies themselves where their security has not been the best. But we'll actually get into that a little bit later. The reason why Rick called me out and the reason why he's addressing me is because I made a tweet about Amazon. So I made a tweet a few days ago saying Amazon is emailing many users for unusual ordering activity and are asking for ID age verification. Surprise, surprise, their age verification vendor is Persona. Watch this full video if you want to see all the details, but basically what was happening is Amazon was emailing people and saying that there was unusual ordering activity detected on their account. Therefore, their order that they were trying to make has been canceled, and the only way you can go ahead and proceed ordering that item is you would have to upload a valid government issued identity. They want your ID so you can purchase items on Amazon. And by the way, we're not talking about items where you actually do need to be a certain age to purchase them, like alcohol or something. No, the person who sent me this email was actually just trying to buy some clothing. Imagine you're trying to buy a t-shirt on Amazon, but Amazon says that you're being suspicious and you have to actually go ahead and provide an ID. Notice how in this email, they don't even say how the ordering activity was unusual. They don't say that you returned too many items. They don't say that you've purchased too many items. They don't say that you've been using your card too much or whatever. They have zero context or reasoning on why the ordering activity on this account was unusual. They just say, if you want to purchase this item, you have to go ahead and provide a government issued ID. It just seems so weird. And so when I made that tweet, I also pointed out the fact that their age verification vendor is Persona, who has had some dodgy security issues. Well, Rick didn't take too kindly to that, and he went ahead and accused me of fear mongering by saying there is no age verification at all here. This is just ID verification for account security. Calling it ID age verification feels like fear mongering to attach it to a polarized topic to generate engagement. Right. So he's basically nitpicking semantics here instead of actually addressing the argument that I was making. Yes, I guess technically it's not ID age verification because I guess Amazon wasn't trying to verify the age of that person, but they were trying to verify their ID, right? I feel like you're completely nitpicking semantics here because obviously you understand that my issue is the fact that there's ID verification being requested to buy a fucking t-shirt on Amazon. I think that's really weird and invasive. So to kind of nitpick semantics there and say, actually, it's not age verification, it's ID verification. It's like saying, hey, I didn't stab you. I actually just used this knife to go ahead and penetrate the outer vessel of your largest organ in your body, your skin. You know exactly what I meant, Rick, and you know why I have a problem with this, but instead you're trying to argue semantics. And so like I said, I'm not the smartest person in the world. In fact, I'm pretty stupid, but he did write a big long Twitter post addressed at me. And now we're going to go over it right now so I can explain to you guys why Rick is absolutely wrong with the points that he's making. He says this is not age verification. It's just ID verification for account security. In the past, you'd email your government ID to a support team who manually looked at it. We built Persona because we think this is bad. Your data used to be indexed in a CRM that wasn't built to secure sensitive personal data, and often that CRM or even support team would be the source of the next data breach. So he's trying to talk about the security of Persona. We'll get into this a little bit later, but considering Persona's dodgy security issues, I think this is actually a pretty funny statement. With Persona, your data is uploaded to a platform built explicitly to manage personal data with better security, access controls, and retention policies. Companies choose us not because of how we verify, but because of our focus on how personal data is secured. Despite the media attention, Persona's primary use case is not age verification, but rather account security and fraud prevention. The majority of our use cases are exactly like this. We have a simple business, we verify your identity securely, retain it for only as long as necessary on behalf of the company, and then delete it as soon as we can. Right. So I've actually read Rick's tweets before, and we actually read them in videos before too. And I noticed that Rick always insinuates that the media is kind of going after Persona and fear mongering people against Persona. Now, Rick, I have a question to ask you, right? Do you think all the media, as you call them, like YouTubers or people on Twitter or whatever, do you think that they just woke up one day and decided to hate Persona for no reason? You think we all just decided, hey, we want to hate Persona for no fucking reason? We just think that they're weird. We don't like the name. No, it's because Persona has been involved in a lot of dodgy security things in the past, especially as of recent history. Let's talk about the stuff that I myself have personally covered, right? So on February 15th of 2026, I made a video talking about the fact that Discord was running a pretty disturbing experiment. Discord had claimed vehemently up and down, hey, when you go ahead and provide us your ID age verification information, none of that is leaving your device. It's not being stored anywhere. Don't worry, you can trust us. Well, they were partnered with you guys at the time, and a lot of people were finding this notice in the UK saying, if you are located in the UK, you may be part of an experiment where your information will be processed by an age assurance vendor, Persona. The information you submit will be temporarily stored for up to 7 days, then deleted. For ID document verification, all details details are blurred except your photo and date of birth. So only what's truly needed for age verification is used. But I thought Discord said that they wouldn't be storing any of our information at all. So how is it now even being temporarily stored for 7 days? Discord lied to us, and you guys were complicit with that lie because you guys saw Discord's statement and you guys let them make that statement knowing that it wasn't true. Now, Rick, if this was the only thing that was against Persona, I would give you the benefit of the doubt and say maybe there's some sort of misunderstanding here. Maybe Discord was the ones in the wrong. But if this was the only thing that Persona had been exposed of doing, I would not be making this video in the first place. 5 days later, I made another video about Persona getting exposed because their interface was displaying on a US government system's notification source. Here's this message over here. This is a US government system operated by or on behalf of the General Services Administration. This system is made available to authorized users for official government business only. All activities on the system are subject to monitoring and recording. By accessing the system, you acknowledge that you have authorized access to the system. Your activities may be monitored and recorded. Unauthorized use may result in criminal and/or civil penalties, and you consent to all applicable monitoring. If you do not agree to these conditions, discontinue use immediately. Whose logo is that there, Rick? Is that the McDonald's logo there, or I think that's the Persona logo? So people have done research and uncovered that the secret AI surveillance projects linked to KYC provider Persona and OpenAI were sending user data to the US government. They were sending things like this: IP addresses, names, phone numbers, email addresses, and things like that. And people were actually getting marked on a risk score, right? So if you had a risk score of something really high, right? You talking bad about ICE or whatever like that, they would put you as a high risk individual, and they would monitor your social media activity a lot closer than somebody who had a low risk score. Right? Now, keep in mind, Rick, I know you're going to be watching this video. I'm just talking about the articles that other people have posted. I'm talking about the research that other people have made, right? Now, this is piece number 2, evidence number 2, against Persona being quite shady and taking all the information of their users and using it for nefarious means. I am simply talking about a story that was researched and done by somebody else, and a lot of people are talking about this and showing that Persona has been really shady as of late. And you guys were also backed by Peter Thiel, who is also a very shady person himself. So remember, this is just piece number 2 of information and evidence that Persona might not be the most reliable company in the world. Well, where's DJ Khaled when you need him? Because I got another one. Persona was then exposed by a different source for working with LinkedIn, where they were sending your face and other personal data to a global network of trusted third-party sources. Your ID and photo are used to train their AI. These were a bunch of the trusted third-party companies that were processing your personal data on their behalf and what they were doing with your data, all the different locations that they were in. Remember, this is all a bunch of research that was done by other people, going ahead and showing that Persona was using your data and sending it to other people, even though your data is supposed to be securely just processed on LinkedIn. Persona was collecting in a 3-minute identity check your full name, passport photo, selfie, facial geometry, chip data, national ID number, nationality, sex, birthday. You guys get the idea. They were collecting a ton of information about you just in a little 3-minute check for LinkedIn. This is information and evidence number 3 against Persona being pretty shady, Rick. So I think you see where I'm going. So when you say that I'm fear mongering and you say that, oh, we have no reason to not trust Persona, look at all this type of shady stuff that's going on. And I'm not even done yet. Persona has also been involved in a lawsuit. So Persona has been involved in a lawsuit, Washington versus Persona Identities, which, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe is still ongoing, where plaintiffs claimed that Persona violated the Illinois Biometric Information Privacy Act by collecting, storing, and using facial geometries from selfies during driver registration without proper consent. Keep in mind that this was the exact same accusation that was made by the person who did the information and research about LinkedIn, where they were saying that Persona through LinkedIn was collecting your facial geometry information as well. What a coincidence, right? That's a pretty crazy lottery level coincidence, right? The appellate court that was looking over this even reversed the lower court's decision, holding that Persona was not a party to the contract and couldn't enforce arbitration, allowing the lawsuit to proceed in court. So that is piece of evidence number 4 against Persona. And once again, I am not done yet. Like I said, Rick, I think you might have opened Pandora's box here. Discord themselves, and before I even get into this, I understand that Discord themselves are very shady and they've had a lot of lies and security issues themselves, but they also gave their 2 cents on Persona as well. They were talking about the test that they did with Persona, where they were using you guys as a third-party ID age verification vendor. In January, we ran a limited test with Persona in the UK only. After completing the test, we decided not to move forward with them, and consistent with our privacy policy, all data was deleted after completing verification. We've set a new bar for any partner offering facial age estimation, including that it must be performed entirely on device, meaning your biometric data never leaves your phone. Persona did not meet that bar. Interesting, right? So 5 different sources are accusing you guys of having faulty security issues, of you guys not being up to par, but yet people who are criticizing you, you're accusing them of fear mongering. Damn, isn't that pretty interesting, huh? So, if this was one of those things where Persona got exposed once for doing something shady and you were able to provide an explanation, this wouldn't even be an issue between us, Rick. But, the fact that you're saying that I'm fear mongering despite this mountains of evidence against you and your company, I am within my rights to believe that you are being incredibly disingenuous. Rick, if you want to go on record and say all the sources of information I just showed, they're all wrong, they're all biased, and all of them were lying about Persona, you can go ahead and do that. But obviously you have to look at it from my situation situation in my shoes, after seeing all these different types of information and evidence against your company, why would I give you the benefit of the doubt? Of course, I'm going to believe the mountain of evidence that is against you guys. Now, Rick, I just showed you line by line why I have a problem with your company. And I even showed you 5 different pieces of information and sources that were accusing you guys of wrongdoing. If you're so correct and everything that you say is right, why don't you go ahead and make a video countering everything that I said, or why don't you make a tweet or whatever and talk about all these different forms of information and all these different sources that are accusing you guys of being shady? Why don't you reply to all of that instead of saying that I'm fear mongering? And that's just everything that I had to say on the subject. There were a lot of people who replied to you in the comments as well, basically explaining that your explanation doesn't make the situation any better at all. This person saying, I'd be inclined to open a debate that just identity verification is arguably worse than age verification. It's interesting you opened your post with that. Yeah, because again, you're just arguing semantics here by saying, oh, by the way, it's not ID age verification, it's just ID verification. But you know that that's not my problem. You know that my problem is the fact that we have to submit ID verification to go ahead and purchase random items on Amazon. You know what I was trying to say, but you purposely tried to like straw man my argument. But again, I don't want to dogpile on you, Rick. I have nothing personal against you. I just have a lot against your company. And the fact that you're accusing me of fear mongering, this is my response to you. So let me know what you think. And if you want to have a discussion about this, I am totally fine to do so as well. Let me know what your guys' thoughts are on the situation in the comments. That is my response to Rick Song, the Persona CEO. If I didn't have evidence, I wouldn't have come at you, my friend. But yeah, let me know what your guys' thoughts are on the situation in the comments. Please leave a like in the video if you enjoyed it and subscribe for more. See ya.